YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today I'm predicting the Pittsburgh Steelers 2021 record. I'm also going to give you best case scenario, in my opinion, worst case. So we kind of get three different records here. Doing this for every single team. We got through NFC East and AFC East, so there's a playlist full of those. Go check them out. We'll eventually get the playoff predictions, Super Bowl predictions. You guys will also predict all this as well. Follow our Twitter. Polls are coming out here and there once I finish divisions here. So check it out. There's a link down below, description and comments. Please like and subscribe. Be much appreciated. We got full NFL coverage here. But yeah, here's our Twitter. And here's the NFC East poll is up. We're done with the AFC East poll, which the Bills won the division there. You guys will basically create a playoff field once we get through this process here. So, and then it'll create a video. So pretty cool stuff. But we are using playoffpredictors.com for all these record predictions. Very cool website. Go check it out. Steelers. If you remember, schedules came out. I ranked some of the hardest schedules, in my opinion. The Steelers, to me, have the hardest schedule in football this year. They did win the division last year. They were 12-0 at one point, looked like the best team in football, and they kind of collapsed a little bit after that. There was some injuries. Yeah, it's just definitely an interesting team because, Big Ben's still there. They upgraded the running back position, Najee Harris, but then the offensive line is got worse. The opposite of an upgrade, in my opinion. Defensively, lose Bud Dupree, but guys like Devin Bush, Robert Spillane, those guys coming back in. They do lose Steven Nelson, so it definitely feels like they lost more than they gained, but can they get back on track? Something's interesting. People always discuss why they were the best team in football and they just fell apart after that. I think the most common thing is that people say is they played an easy schedule and then they played a hard schedule. That's not why, in my opinion. They did play harder teams at the end, so it was tougher. You have more of a shot to lose, but that wasn't it for me. They were early on. They were an elite defense, best defense in football for most part of the season. And the offense was just such a dominant, quick passing offense. They just dominated people in the quick passing games. I think over time, on top of playing better teams, I think teams game plan for them correctly. All right, they're going to just throw the quick passing game at us, quick game at us. If we can stop that, you force them to go outside their comfort zone. They couldn't really do anything else. So I still feel like they're kind of stuck in that offensively. They can get things downfield here and there. Again, upgraded the running back position, but how is the blocking for Najee Harris? So it's banking on the defense kind of being elite again. If the receivers do a better job catching the ball, then I think that helps them in the passing game as well. But definitely a tough schedule here. So it's definitely an interesting team. Let's see if they could start off as hot as last year. I don't think so. I went with the Bills in week 1. I think the Bills will be able to air it downfield on them. I also think the Bills are such a good team. They got great defense. I think their defense honestly can match the Steelers, and the Steelers are going to have a little more pass rush. But I like the Bills in terms of their secondary much better. Their linebackers do a great job as well. But again, they kind of trump them with their offense too. They can air the ball downfield. Against the Raiders in week 2, it's a good time to play the Raiders. Actually, the one good thing about the schedule is not necessarily playing the Raiders because they're a pretty good team, but where they play them. I think I would rather play the Raiders. Yeah, usually they're better early on than later, so I guess you could debate that. But offensive line feels different. I still think it'll be good for the Raiders, but I think it'll probably be better, after they adjust. I think the Steelers pass rush can get after them in this game. I'm going to go Steelers. That's one that can go either way, though. I could go Raiders there. We'll circle back, best case and worst case scenario. After I get done with this prediction, we're at 1-1. Of them beating the Bengals gave them a good run last year. It seems like they always give them at least one good game. But I go Steelers home against the Bengals, so young team learning. They should be able to get a decent amount of pressure in this one. Against the Packers, I got to go with the Packers in this one. I expect Aaron Rodgers to play, especially in week 4. I think they'll be able to block the Steelers. The Steelers got a good pass rush, but I think the Packers' offensive line can hold it down, especially, they're always a top tier early in the year, at least for the Packers, protecting Rodgers. So I think that'll be enough to get the job done there. Broncos at Steelers. This is a tough one. Broncos, they got a very complete team. They can present some. This is a good game. I think both defenses definitely can create some turnovers here. The one question about the Broncos is quarterback play. Steelers do create turnovers. I don't think their defense is as good on paper as it was last year, But again, they can create turnovers. The Broncos got a pretty good offensive line. Maybe to hold it down enough. They could get the run game going. I really like the way the Broncos defense match up with the Steelers. And they'll get enough pass rush. I think their secondary is much improved. I like the way the Broncos match up against Steelers. Probably one that can go either way. I just really like that defense, just the way they go against that Steelers offense here. Seahawks and Steelers, another pretty good game. It's in Pittsburgh. Yeah, the Seahawks live and die by that, the downfield passing game, the deep ball on the offensive side. I do think in Wilson's ability to escape the pressure, I do think that could be the difference in this game. I do think, it's kind of Fitzpatrick kind of carrying the back end there in terms of coverage. I think they could struggle with those types of teams that, really can air the ball downfield. Seahawks are tough. Are they a balanced team? What offense is going to show up from last year? Which defense? Because they were kind of, one extreme to another on both sides of the ball. So they're a tough team to predict, but pretty good matchup for them. Bye week. After the bye week, I'm moving this too much. Man, to me, the Browns are just a much better roster than the Steelers for this upcoming year. I think the Steelers can get one on them here off the bye, even though it's away. They might have a better shot off the bye and earlier rather than later against this Browns team that's really built now for the regular season, but for the playoffs as well, in crunch time down there. I'll give the Steelers that one. Very easily can have the Browns 2-0 them. We saw the problems they gave them, especially late last year. Bears-Steelers Monday night. Bears are tough to predict because we don't know who's going to start at quarterback. I have a gut feeling it's going to be Andy Dalton. We'll see if it is by week 9. That actually makes a difference here because, again, I think Fields can get things going downfield and use his legs against a good Steelers defense. At the same time, Fields, where he does have to work on is holding the ball. He needs to get the ball out quicker. He eventually takes sacks because of that. But I do think it's Dalton. I think the Steelers get the best of him there. Then they get enough pressure to win the game. Very low-scoring game probably. Monday night in Pittsburgh. Yeah, give me the Steelers. The Steelers over the Lions, so we're starting to pick it back up over 500. Steelers-Chargers, another one of those matchups. I'd rather play the Chargers earlier than later as well. Some adjustments, second-year quarterback, new coaching staff. But it's one of those matchups. I think the Chargers, Justin Herbert, can escape the pressure of T.J. Watt and company. Not every single play. Can throw on the run, can air the ball downfield. And I think the Steelers secondary is kind of the weaker part of the defense. Not necessarily saying it's weak. But really, I think Fitzpatrick's kind of carrying that group. I do think Hayden's solid. He's definitely declining, though, but he's solid. And the Chargers do present a pretty good defense with some pass rush. I just hate those types of matchup for the Steelers. And in L.A. as well. Steelers at Bengals. Man, like I was saying, the Bengals usually give them at least one good one a year. The game plan, that Bengals game later in the year, primetime game, that was an excellent game plan. There was kind of before that game, there was talks that Zach Taylor could be fired. I didn't really think so, but that kind of shut that up because I think they won that game purely off coaching game plan without Joe Burrow. The Bengals are on the right track. They're going to be better later than earlier, just like the Chargers. I think the Bengals I think they're going to get one on the Steelers. I really, you almost can expect it. Ravens, Steelers, that's another one. I think the Ravens are the better team, but I think they can split two defensive battles. Maybe one of those games, Bound Lamar is able to go off. He could very easily in both, but we'll give the Steelers on that one. Steelers Vikings Thursday night football, week 14. Definitely an interesting one, primetime game here. The Vikings should be, a lot of people expect them back on track. Pretty complete team, so they could present, difficulties on both sides of the ball. But actually, looking at the matchup, and matchup could change by the time we get there in week 14, of course. But the matchup, I actually, it's in Minnesota, but I'm actually going to go with the Steelers. I think they could slow the Vikings run. It's pretty hard to stop Dalvin Cook, but slow it and get that pressure. The teams that get, not even as units, the TJ Watt might be enough against the Vikings offensive line that get that constant pressure, really can throw them off. Probably a low-scoring game in this one. I just like the way the Steelers match up against them. Prime time. Vikings have struggled on prime time. They are home in this one. That's a good game. I'm going to go Steelers, though. Titans, Steelers. Yeah, pretty similar matchup to the Vikings. The difference is the Titans' offensive line is probably top tier with Taylor Lewan back to protect their quarterback there. I'm going to go Titans in that one. Give me the Chiefs in this one. I just don't think the Steelers can keep up with them. Not like the Chiefs are going to score 50 points, but yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to win a shootout with them or close to if that. Browns Steelers. I just don't. I have the Steelers winning this away game off the bye. I just do not see the Steelers 2-0ing the Browns. If I have a split, but I'm very close to having a 2-0 Browns, just because I think they present a pretty good matchup for themselves, and they're the better team. They're just the better team right now. Steelers Ravens. I had the Steelers. Yeah, they're not going to 2-0 the Ravens. If there's a 2-0, I think it's going to be the Ravens. So it's weird I have a 7-10 on the Steelers right now. We're going to circle back and do best case here in a second. It is weird seeing the Steelers, Mike Tomlin's team, 7-10. But you look at the schedule, it's the hardest in football, in my opinion. And I know there's probably fans that won't be happy with me. There's probably fans that just won't see 7-10. But what can you go back and switch here? Remember, I did have them getting one on the Browns. I did have them getting one on the Ravens. I had them beating the Vikings in Minnesota Thursday Night Football. I think the fans would want me to switch that one probably. I do really like the matchup with the Broncos, but that can go either way. And the Raiders-Steelers can go either way. I gave the Steelers the win there. Fans will probably say they'll 2-0 the Bengals. I think that'd be pretty biased of them. I mean, we know the Bengals can present them at least a problem on one game. But best case, we switch the Broncos game. It's looking a lot better than I don't think they'll 2-0 the Bengals. I really don't. I think I'm going to keep the split for the best case. But looking at I don't like the matchup of the Chargers game. I really think the Chargers will win that game actually, unless they can throw off Herbert. I guess we'll give the Steelers that one. I was thinking between the Seahawks and the Chargers. I wasn't going to switch. It's tough to switch both. I guess between the Seahawks and the Titans, we can switch one here. I mean, some good defensive teams, I guess, threw Russell Wilson off, so we could switch that. It's tough, man. It's really tough to see the best case scenario being 10-7 for the Steelers, which is a good record. It's a tough schedule. I think they'll be back on track. Oh, it's tough, actually. I was going to say I think they'll be back on track in 2022 for sure. But then who's their quarterback, I'm confident with them, though. They have a lot of cap space, I think there's a little bit of an adjustment this year. Worst case scenario, I mean, they could very easily lose the Raiders game. I mean, the Bengals to give them struggles, but I'll keep that one. I had that. I think they can get 2-0'd by the Browns, very possibly. I'll keep the split of even in worst case, I'll keep the split of the Bengals and the Ravens. We'll flip this one for worst case. 5-12. It's really hard to see them going 5-12, but if you look at each game, it's kind of realistic though. But I just don't see them going 5-12. But if you look at the games, like I said, so what did I have? It's weird, but weird things happen. Everything doesn't stay the same there. It's just which. Then they switched on the on the staff side, the play calling side. People weren't happy with the play calling last year. I just thought they were just so one-dimensional, specifically one-dimensional. The Steelers, there's teams that can pass and they're one-dimensional because they can't run, and there's teams that are opposite. The Steelers really couldn't. Here and there, they can throw downfield. Remember the Colts game where they got that big win at the end of the year? They're actually able to throw the ball downfield in that game. But it was in moments. They were just a short passing team. If that changes, if they're able to run the ball a little more effectively, they do have Najee Harris. I just worry about the actual offensive line. Then things change. But how's the defense looking? Bud Dupree got hurt last year. They kind of went downhill. But they were missing Devin Bush, Robert Spillane. At one point, he came in, was looking good. They did lose Steven Nelson though. I think Dupree was such a big impact because his presence off the edge. They would stunt him a lot. He would drop in coverage a lot. He would kind of just free roam, watch the quarterback, and create hurries, which create turnovers, which won't show up on the stat department. So I did think losing him was pretty big last year, and now they lose him for good here. But, so they need somebody to step up. Offensive line and really somebody in the secondary probably going to have to step up there. But that's tough because Mike Tomlin's always got his team, balling, so it's tough to see them go 7 wins. But to me, it's the toughest schedule in football. Last year I said the Falcons had the toughest schedule in football, and I think I was correct on that. And I think that was a big reason that they were a little underwhelming compared to most people's expectations. So schedule does matter, but you got to beat the best to be the best. So you just got to show up every week, game plan correctly, stay healthy hopefully this year. But yeah, definitely an interesting one. We're gonna get to the rest of the AFC North. We did the AFC East and the NFC East. We'll keep going on with these. We're gonna get through every single NFL team. There's a playlist full of them. Full NFL coverage here. Smash the like button, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. Links down below for anything you're looking for. That's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.